Joining me today on The Candidates is Dov Lipman, Knesset member for Yesh Atid. In 2013, Rabbi Lipman became the first American-born politician to be elected to the Knesset in 3 decades. Thank you for joining us, Mr. Lipman.
My pleasure.
So you are the only ultra-Orthodox member of Yesh Atid, which has been called a devoutly secular party. I mean, how do you bridge this inherent contradiction?
Sure. Anybody who suggests that Yesh Atid is an anti-religious party doesn't understand what Yesh Atid is all about or what our legislation was about.
But it's a secular party.
It's led by someone secular. The number 2 in the party is a religious Zionist rabbi, Shai Perron. The first time I sat with Yair Lapid, he said to me, we talked for about an hour and we agreed about 80% of the issues. On 20% we disagreed, sometimes strongly. He said, isn't it a shame that Israeli culture has told us we have to be in different camps, secular against religious, but we agree about 80%. Let's work together, break down that wall, and work together on the 80%. And when it comes to the 20% where we disagree, we'll sit around a table as a party and we'll discuss the issues and we'll come to compromise and understandings. And for me, that was music to my ears. That's a Jewish party. It's not secular, it's not religious, it's people who are Jewish who want to work together.
When you joined the party, you said that there were divisions between the 2 communities, or I mean, there are multiple communities, but let's call them 2 communities, secular and religious, that you wanted to bridge. Do you think we've come very far in bridging those gaps yet in the last 2 years?
We've made a lot of progress. I don't think enough. We as a party wanted to deal with a lot of the core religion and state issues that go into what does it mean to be a Jewish and democratic state. We actually thought that our partnership with the Jewish Home Party, with Naftali Bennett, would allow us to really move forward with that because he also portrayed himself religious and secular together. That ended up being a mistake, an assessment on our part, because Naftali himself might be progressive and liberal. The party is not. We're talking about on religion and state issues extremists, and a lot of secular voters don't realize that. So we weren't able to move forward on all of the core issues that we wanted to. We made baby steps forward. Certainly the conversion reform package was very important, certain women's issues as well, but we have a long way to go, and that's a big part of who we are in Yesh Atid, and our platform is to try to really make progress on these core issues, a new contract, I would call it, between secular and religious.
I'd like to look also very specifically about the tensions between those 2 communities. I mean, I'm sure you'll agree with me, there are strong tensions. I mean, what core issues do you think lie between these 2 communities?
So we in Beit Shemesh, where I come from and live, and what brought me to politics, I saw that tension firsthand, and I saw how far it can go.
Yeah.
Where we reached a point where over the course of 4 months, these young girls were being attacked by extremists every single day. How do we get to this point? It really, to get to the root of the issue, relates to the isolation of the ultra-Orthodox community in Israel, where they don't view themselves as part of society, not for military or national service, not for joining the workforce, and not even having general education.
And are those all things that you think that they need to do?
They need to do. They need to do, first of all, for themselves, to get them out of the cycle of poverty. Number 2, we as a state economically have to do it because we can't keep supporting a community that's growing much more than the rest of the birth rate in Israel. But beyond that, there's a value here. Are we one people or not? Are we going to allow a group to become more and more extreme and be one against the other? You know, we talk about the Palestinian issue of 2 states for 2 people, 1 state for 2 people. We, within Judaism, are becoming 2 people within our state. And this is something which we in Yesh Atid made a priority. And when I look back on a year and 8 months in office, this is the issue where I believe we had the greatest success, where we have a 300% increase in Haredim looking for employment. I had a task force in the Knesset to help ultra-Orthodox find work, train them for work, and find work. We get an average of 500 resumes per month in our various projects. And in general education, we established this year 50 mainstream ultra-Orthodox schools with basic general studies in mainstream Haredi cities. This is nothing short of a revolution that's happening, and it will have a trickle-down effect down the road on the relationship between the communities.
But I'm sure there is still a lot of resistance among the ultra-Orthodox Israelis, and I'm not sure that coming from a secular party, if that's the kind of party that can speak to them. I mean, shouldn't it be the more ultra-Orthodox parties in the Knesset that can actually make the change within those communities?
Well, that's the interesting dynamic here. If it was a purely secular party, I don't think we'd be successful. The fact that we are religious and secular together, rabbis who can quote all the sources we need to quote for how working is a value of ours and supporting your family dignity is a core value of ours, And the fact that we have the connections to the community, including to rabbis in the community, that's why we've been successful. We're able to reach out to them. The ultra-Orthodox parties do not represent the best interests of the average ultra-Orthodox family.
So what are they fighting for?
Their goal is to keep them in the cycle of poverty. That's where their control base is.
Why would a parliamentarian, though, want to keep his constituency in poverty?
That's where the control comes from. The control comes from the community being isolated. Why is there a need for an ultra-Orthodox party in Israel? Why do we need
to
that?
represent all the ultra-Orthodox people in the population?
Right, but what are their needs? If their needs are spiritual, religious needs, they do that on their own. They don't use the state. Their rabbis aren't part of the rabbinate. They don't need the state for that at all. They have their own kashrut, dietary...
So you're saying that the fact that there are Haredi politicians is only leading to worsening the situation for their constituency?
There is absolutely no doubt about it, and there's no doubt that the Haredim are starting to learn that. Why isn't the Haredi parties should be growing en masse based on the birth rate and the number of children the families are having? It's not happening. UTJ, United Torah Judaism, stands around 6 to 8 seats. They're not growing because people aren't voting for them. I'm in contact with the ultra-Orthodox community. People don't want to be impoverished. They want their children to have opportunities. And as long as you present
they're not willing to join the workforce.
But they are. That's my point. They are. If you give them the opportunities, they are. What you need to do is present to them, we're not out to make you less religious. We don't want you not to be Talmudic scholars. You can do both. Exactly what I experienced in the yeshiva that I went to in America, Ner Yisrael, where you balance together high-level Torah study with strict religious observance, but also going to university and learning a profession and supporting your family with dignity. The moment they see that opportunity in front of them, they're running to it. 300% increase in a year and a half of people who want to go and work, and the projects that we're running, I see it happening. My biggest concern is that in these elections, the clock will be turned backwards. Either Labor or Likud to form a government will in a moment give the ultra-Orthodox parties their demands to go backwards, and that's what Israeli voters need to know. We're the party that needs to be strong to be able to keep the progress.
I need to ask you a question about religion and state.
Sure.
Okay, there is, in the United States where you come from, there's a clear distinction, yet unofficial distinction, between church and state. And in fact, it's part of the Constitution that you cannot, it forbids establishing an official religion. Okay, now as a religious person in Israel who also is a believer in democracy, would you support a bill like the nation-state bill that subjugates Israel's democratic character to its religious character?
I think that not in a halachic way, not in a Jewish law type of way. I'm against religious coercion. I believe what I believe, and I live my lifestyle the way I do. I don't believe I have any right to force what I believe on somebody else. However, we do have to work hard to find the balance to maintain a Jewish character of a state, core Jewish values.
What Jewish values are you talking about? Are you talking about Haredi Orthodox values, or what about Reform, conservative values? Would you...
In that area, you're talking about how we practice religiously. Of course, I'm in favor of people practicing religion as they choose in Israel.
So you would enable Reform marriage to be part of Israeli marriage law?
So as an example, this is something where we're unique. I've sat with leaders of the Reform and conservative leadership to find a way to move forward, to give them the opportunity to do so in Israel. But I point out to them that, and they agree, that we want to be able to have a scenario where everyone can agree that this is a marriage. So I don't want to get into all the technicalities right now, but we formulated a way where they can have a rabbi that they choose, the ceremony that they choose, and as long as certain core things are done in a way where even on the Orthodox side, we all can say that's a marriage according to Jewish law, that it can work. And that's something which I believe we need to do to give people a feeling of, I'm also at home here, even if they disagree with me ideologically.
I'd like to now talk to you on a more personal level.
Sure.
I mean, you had to give up your American citizenship when you became a parliamentarian in Israel. Do you still feel American?
I definitely feel American in terms of certain values. I was surprised that I was called into the Speaker of the Knesset's office and was awarded the person who showed up to the Knesset and to vote the most. And I think that's
American values?
I think there's a work ethic there, which I learned in terms of taking my job very seriously.
Do you think Israelis take their jobs less seriously?
In the Knesset, yes. In the Knesset, yes, there's no question that there's a legitimate criticism about, people, how often they show up. There's no real accountability here. Remember, you have no constituents who are keeping track of what you're doing and what you're not doing. That's something which also I believe should change at some point with regional representation. But also my approach to tolerance, my approach to Jew and non-Jew alike can get along with one another. It's what I experienced growing up in the streets of Silver Spring, Maryland. I understand Israelis have been brought up on war, and I understand why it's more difficult, but I do believe we have to look beyond that and make sure that we have a society with zero discrimination, zero racism, no fears in terms of people of other faiths who want to be upstanding citizens in our country. Yeah. Those are American values that I bring, but I'm Israeli. I'm not American.
Okay, one last question, and just very briefly, are there still things about Israeli culture that kind of jar with you?
On the one hand, some of the strong-natured character traits, you see people very gruff and rough on the one hand. By the other hand, I've learned that same person would take a bullet for me. And cares about me passionately and deeply and loves me. And that's something which you always have to look beyond the first thing that you see externally and realize the deep connection that we all have together here.
All right, well, thank you very much for joining us, Mr. Dov Lipman.
My pleasure, thank you.
I'm Aimee Amiga, and you're on Haaretz.com.